Hey everyone. Let me know if you can hear me well enough. I'm in traffic right now, headed to um, do some work. Now, I wanted to talk about the Tina Peters case. I was so stoked. I was almost screaming um, while I was on the airplane. Um, Listening to the VOIP version of the judge speaking, which was cutting out, so I was getting updates consistently from my from my attorney, Grant. And I have to say, I mean, our amicus maybe, and this is something that I said, and I found it really weird. I've been noticing that a lot of people have been. Let me take this off because it's taking bandwidth. I've been noticing that a lot of people are constantly honing in on this Venezuelan affidavit, which is merited, and I'm not going to discount it, okay? Not at all. But it had no business being in the habeas corpus and absolutely no business being there. And I'm not an attorney and I know that. And what's interesting is that the judge not once but twice said he's going to make his decision and utilize the people's amicus. And guys, I worked on that for over a year, right? From the minute of her pretrial, I was working on it. I had the arguments ready. I provided it to her legal team when she was in her first phases. And, obviously Stephanie Lambert, who, by the way, was part of the discussion on the case, and I have no idea why. Why would her attorney waste time talking about her when he should be talking about Tina Peters? And remember, what a habeas corpus is they're going there and saying, hey, her constitutional rights were violated, and therefore she should be let out on bail. But then they're bringing in amicuses, not amicus, affidavits of the Venezuelan, how the machines are corrupt. And we're not litigating the case. We're litigating constitutional rights and violations of those rights. And so our case was so stellar that he said we brought novel art. He put it on the record. So now her legal team can actually utilize what we said because I clearly said, well, I had put down in my draft, hey, I think we should tell the judge that her attorneys were trying to keep her in jail. And how do we do that? Just say they were throwing her under, like, say they want her in jail or they failed to be. He's like, no, we can't say that because he's the attorney, right? And he's like, I'm not doing that. You can't just say that. We're going to say that they failed to develop. And I was like, but they didn't even talk about them. He's like, just say that. That's what we're going to say. If you want me representing you and filing this, this is what's going to be said because those are the rules. And I get it. But I have said that they're trying to keep her in there. If today's hearing did not prove exactly what I've been saying today, then you don't know how deep this fucking thing is. They got a wrench up the bejeez today because, why the hell would they want to file an argument about the machines, right? We're talking about her constitution. And you know why. We all know why. They want to get rid of God Blanche. Glad this will be different because I was actually around. I think he's going to let her go home. Because I didn't go up reinforced and blatantly showed, through that amicus by you that needs to be done. I can tell you, probably Stephanie didn't like it. And I should put this parentheses. The last time I went and I was there for Tina's case, I ran into a bunch of her counsel and stuff, and we were having conversations. And then I said, well, I don't trust Ted Cruz. This is how the conversation went. I said, I don't trust Ted Cruz at all. That guy's tanking our FAA. He thinks he owns everything. That little bitch wanted to be Supreme Court justice. He's like, no, he's all right. I was like, no, he's not. He gets the majority of his money from APAC. They should be a foreign registered, you know, they should be registered as lobbying for a foreign nation. He- If one guy says, oh, if he's taking money from APAC, I like him more. And I said, why? He's like, I'm pro everything Israel. I said, you could be pro a country and free Are you pro genocide? Killing women and children. Is that okay? And they were like, oh, they're all Hamas. And I said, so the women and children are Hamas? And person looked me dead in the face. He's like, I don't care about the women and children. They're all terrorists. And I was like, holy shit. God is not going to like you very much. I hope you're not faithful or pretend to be because you're definitely not. This is not thoughts that I would expect from someone, you know. I said, well, I guess this ends our conversation. I said it very nicely too. So obviously, I rubbed a lot of them the wrong way, being very bold and standing for what I believe is right: dignity, faith, of course, and justice, which they don't believe in dignity, obviously, no faith. And justice, well, today proved my point. I think they're actually trying to keep Tina Peters. Like, no way they want her out. With what I saw today, like, no way. And I'm so glad the judge didn't mention it once, but twice, that he's going to consider our amicus in his decision. And he's going to try to make his decision pretty quick. For all of you that had filed complaints against Justice Barrett, thank you. Because it's about time that we take the wheel. No one's doing it for you. I've noticed a trend on X where anything Tina Peters, Patrick Byrne, General Flynn, and Joe Hoft get tagged. Joe Hoft is one of the worst. The Hoft brothers in general are horrible human beings. Okay. That's my opinion. When you're with young men, and I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. That's the way I feel. And, the fact that, they keep pushing an affidavit of a foreigner, which is to them more credible than mine, that was domestic, that I served this country, and I can point to the direction where the documents are to validate, was dismissed and pretend that it's not there. And that's quite fascinating. But I want to say, I think this went in a really good direction to at least get Tina Peters home and out of prison, which was the question at the court. It had nothing to do with Dominion, because I'm looking at the rhetoric. This is bullshit. Dominion gets away with everything. And it's like, look, shut up, babies. We're at habeas corpus. We're talking Constitution. We're not talking Dominion. We're talking about her rights and how she was violated. And uh, that was the only thing to do was apparently for some reason John Case built Stephanie Lambert, who's getting her license pulled in Michigan, going through a whole lot of shit. I could give two zero fucks actually for that. But she is trying to keep her in, and no one is gonna convince me otherwise. Not at all. No one's gonna convince me otherwise. No one's gonna. So I'm happy that people had bond. So hopefully he doesn't add to it. Um, we'll figure out how that goes. But that's pretty fascinating in itself. How, you know, we brought this home. I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys heard on the call, if any of you would like to. I'm going to try to manage this by myself because I'm in a taxi cab headed to my first destination. Let me see. Um, so if you want to step up to the mic and tell me what you heard during the call, I would really appreciate it. Because it was pretty weird. Like, I had no idea why we spent so much time talking about Stephanie Lambert. That's not Tina Peters. Okay. And I have no idea why we were talking about Venezuelans and the bad code in the machines, which I already put in an affidavit. So I'm not going to kill that. What he's saying is accurate. But why were we talking about it when we were talking about her constitutional violations is the question. And so, does anybody want to come up and say something? Anybody? Is this working? Yeah, it's working. I don't see anyone. Let me see. Do I see anyone? So no one wants to come on and talk? Wow. Okay. Uh, There we go. Hey, Greg. Hey, Greg. Take the floor. Hey.
up in the mountains of Arizona right now, but I I'll keep it short. I have it seems that they, to me, in my personal opinion, that they would just not focus as much on Tina, or purposefully maybe for a reason, and it is either to um try and, I don't know if it's like to purposely look like they don't know why they're really there, or I don't know how it
Okay,
puts.
so you felt that. Hold on, Greg. So you felt that too. It felt like they were disconnected from the whole thing. It's like the judge got so mad at some point. Like he was like, what, why are we talking about this?
Right.
Like he dismissed every single thing they did. And the thing is, it's like we're not attorneys and we could see, hey, this isn't the point. So you felt that too, right?
Yeah, that's a, yeah. You said it better than I. Yeah, they were there to prove the Constitution, um, constitutional violations against Tina. There to fight for Tina, not to prove the case that they lost. So yes, that those are valid points, but like you said too, there was different ways they could have done that from the beginning, not here at the end. Right now, we just need Tina out free, and then fight. As much as you can, but get her out. And it just kind of seemed like they were like fighting the wrong fight on the wrong day.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense. Like, why are we talking about these machines, right? Why are we talking about a lawyer that's not even there and not technically part of the legal team? Why aren't we talking about Tina Peters and her constitutional violations? The constitutional violations that, the insults, the constitutional insults that she suffered, and we're talking about something else. I mean, the judge was so mad. Like I was frantically texting Grant, like, tell me. He's like, holy shit. He just accepted our amicus and he not once, but twice said he's going to use that for his decision. And it's like it felt from the call, like listening to the hearing, that only the judge and we, the people, were actually stepping in the gap for her. Like no one else was there for her. I don't know if I'm wrong. I mean, forgive me if, if I've misconstrued because I was kind of trying to listen to it on the internet portion because I was in an aircraft. But I mean, this is crazy. Hi, St. Anthony. What did you think about it?
Hi, Tori. Yeah, I know you talked about the legal team in the past, and I was following the arguments, and I just thought the judge was very fair the whole way through. And I really liked when he narrowed it down to, yeah, what are we talking about here? We're talking about can she, like, what, yeah. Uh, Sorry, I'm getting nervous because I'm speaking, but um, yeah. I thought the judge was very fair and narrowed down what we were actually discussing, not whether the sky was blue or not blue, not whether the arguments were truthful or not, but really was she a danger, and was her speech dangerous? And can you hold on bail? And so he narrowed it down to the substance of what the amicus was about. So
Right, which should have been the argument in the first
exactly.
place, It should have been in the first place, and, and I have a super cool taxi driver that's honking. I haven't heard honking in a long time. But the thing is, like, listening to the case, I agree with you. It's like he was like, "Hold on, why we're not disputing the facts, we're not discussing the facts. We're not even talking about these machines." Like, that's what his plea was, and when I'm seeing social media all frantic, "Oh, they're just keeping her in there." No, it's the legal team that's doing it. Because, I mean, if I'm Tina Peters, man, I am pissed. I feel like I'm her right now, and I am mad for her. I hope all of you are mad for her, and I'm sad that it wasn't Peter there because Peter would have never let that happen. You know, um, he's a smart guy, and John was up there. And another thing, all the state had brought even Shapiro, her first prosecutor, which meant they knew there's going to be a pivot in the case. And what happened with our amicus was us saying, Why do they keep muddying shit? We need to keep things separate. That's what our amicus purpose was. And to kind of reframe the arguments here as to, hey, we're focusing on her, not the fucking machines, not Venezuelans, not who sat there, not who did it, not passwords. We're focusing on her. And the fact that we demonstrated in the amicus that the judge himself, with his own mouth, said, I'm withholding bail because you're dangerous if you're out there. That is a direct violation of the Eighth Amendment, period.
Yeah. And
You know,
he didn't allow them to, what the judge called, rewrite the state's record of the case by introducing new evidence. He's like, that's we can't do that, but what we can do is talk about whether or not her First Amendment speech was violated and she's being illegally detained. Uh,
and that's what we want. We want her out because then when she's out, it's going to be a lot easier for us and her to circle the wagons and figure out how to introduce that evidence. Because that's the one thing, like right now, I had a lengthy call in the morning on the way to the airport and through TSA with a bunch of attorneys for the, mask mandate, vaccine mandate case, right? That went up to the Supreme Court. And so we had a lot of those conversation as well. Like, how do we compartmentalize, right? And focus and reframe? And how do we leave enough to be able to have broad arguments so that way down the line in discovery or, through whatever that we can pull more. The problem is that when the case was initially filed for Tina, there wasn't a lot of leeway. Like I've been going through her case since last year from the beginning to the end. And I'm trying to find verbiage for when she actually gets to the appeal court and her appeal is being heard that we can segue new evidence. So I'm actually looking into that because that's what you have to do. You have to find a foothold and get in there. Obviously, I don't have access to the evidence or anything like that. And the only thing I can do is submit an amicus in focusing on things that are public record. Um, because for some reason, I don't know, like, is it ego? Like, what the hell? No, it's not, guys. Like, everyone says, oh, it's just ego. It's not. This is a full blown operation. If you guys can't see it, I don't know how else to explain it to you. Like, I'm watching X and all these people upset that, you know, that allegedly the case wasn't good enough, that, the judge was corrupt. And it's like, he was fantastic. You felt that too, didn't you, St.
yeah,
Anthony? Didn't you
I
feel
did.
that he was fair and he was in her camp?
I did, and yeah, I was almost a little worried at the end because the judge come out to talk about, okay, these are my rulings, and then the lawyer's like, well, just one more comment, and I was like, oh, please don't upset the judge. Like that was the feeling that I had because it's just like I'm like, oh my gosh, like I mean he's I don't know, I don't want him to like upset the judge at this point. I didn't understand the thing about the Venezuelan witnesses or what that was all about because I knew of the case through the amicus lens, but I wasn't aware of all the other stuff. So that was confusing. And then when he brought it up a second and a third time, and then the judge came out, gave his ruling, and then he stood up at the end and said, "Oh, but one more comment, one more." And I was like, he's going to upset this judge to the point where he's just annoyed.
I think the fact, St. Anthony, that in the amicus at the beginning, I had, like I told Grant, just say they threw her under the bus and they set her up. Just say that. He's like, we can't say that.
Yes.
Even though he's like, no. I was like, well, how do we say it in legalese? He's like, listen, you could say that they didn't develop the arguments. And I was like, fuck. So what? We're gonna make them look at least half smart. They're dumb. Fine, let's do that. But I think he gets that we get right
Yeah.
that these people are just milking her, right? They made so much money with her, so much money. And they stuck her in there so she could be the golden calf that they're going to sacrifice for elections. I pray to God that our amicus at least gets her home so that way, we can figure out how we can help her better because right now she's really stuck.
Yeah. And the Supreme Court ruling wouldn't be until like e- what, like June of next year, maybe April, or because he was talking timelines in there, and it could be for like 6 months or more. So yeah, I hope the Amicus can get her home.
Well, that's yeah, at least get her home,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like, I want her out of there. She doesn't deserve prison because she has something that's appealable. And, in our arguments, you guys, we not only stated that they violated her right, and used bail as a punitive measure, but we also stitched all those amendments together because they also violated her right to due process, because by them denying bail, they've already asserted her guilt, even though it's not in a matter of a violent crime. So that's even crazier, right? And we pointed all that stuff out to make sure that the judge had a better picture.
Do you think that they could argue that her platform was somehow dangerous? It seemed like he left some opening in his consideration, but he didn't want to argue the point yet. That was, I guess, for another the next meeting. But I don't know. It seemed like he left some opening as to consider, could Tina's speech, because of her platform, be talked about as like an attack on democracy. Of course, we know that's not the case, but that's the argument that could be made. Does that worry you?
Well, I think that's what the state was trying to do. If something like that is actually upheld, right, then that means free speech no longer exists.
Right.
Because, what you consider dangerous, I don't. What I consider dangerous, you don't. So if such a thing was to happen, that would be one of the biggest travesties in, I think, jurisprudence history.
Right.
This is
It,
my personal, perspective.
well, I feel the same way, but it's like the argument that people were making about, you have to take the vaccine because it could be dangerous to somebody else. The saying that the speech is dangerous to democracy because elections. Again, it's not. It means that free speech doesn't exist, but I wonder if that's the argument that would then be made, and if that's the next step to consider. I don't know. That's just what I was thinking after the call.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't even remember if I heard that portion or if it was texted to me.
Okay.
Um, how he worded it. Does anybody remember how he worded that?
I don't remember exactly. It was like, uh, it was very generic, like, dangerous enough was the language of the judge. Was her speech dangerous enough? And then one of the state's lawyers said, if it was just anybody, okay, it's not dangerous, but because she had a platform and an audience, right? Then could she encourage other people to do illegal things? And
Yeah, but in order to do the crimes that she did, right, that they allege, right? They're alleging she did all these crimes. They would have to be in a position to do it. And they would have to have Patrick Byrne on the side to bring a coder to slide in and pretend they're a county official, right? So if she doesn't have her pulpit, how is she going to do it?
exactly, okay, that's good.
That's we address that in the amicus too.
Right.
Her platform is what? Talking about it? She's not inciting violence. She's telling people that they need to start looking into elections. They're being rigged. And happenstancely today, years ago, I had talked about, and I actually provided evidence to Grassley a long time ago. And that was from a lead I got from WikiLeaks on the Philippines and the elections. And today it was announced that, they were getting bribery charges for elections and blah, blah, blah in the Philippines.
Huh.
God, oh my God. He's a badass driver. He just took the shoulder. Sorry.
uh, ta-
I'm
when
just
I travel, taxis are like one of my favorite things to do. But, yeah.
yeah, it's like an exciting extreme
Yeah.
sport. I mean, they drive like they're in Europe, which I like, which means we make our own lanes.
Yeah.
Yeah. For Faith, or Kristen, what did you guys hear? What is your 2 cents on this? Tell us.
Hi, Tori.
You go for Faith. Do it.
Hi.
I was not able to listen. Unfortunately, I had to take my dog last minute to the vet. So I'm kind of here to listen, but I wanted to say thank God for your brilliance. And I was here to kind of, get the lowdown on what happened. You were cutting out a lot when you were talking about, is it Todd Blanchard, whatever that DOJ guy is, and um,
Yeah, a Todd Blanche is doing his
yeah,
job. And I don't understand well, obviously the IO doesn't want him where he's at, which is, I don't know if it's a way to exercise pressure or something, because it feels like all this noise and targeting is to help quell something that's
mm,
ready to bubble on the surface.
okay, and that's where I was kind of trying to see where you were going with that because clearly Peter Tickton got bad information, or he may be in on it. I don't, I'm just saying the ors. Um,
Well, no, Peter wasn't there today. John was, but Peter is the lead attorney. But again, your client tells you what to do. Like my attorney, he's my friend,
right,
right? But he's also my attorney. And he tells me, you're my client. I'll file whatever you want, but I will make sure that I file exactly what you
right,
want. Do you see what
right,
I'm saying? Same thing happened this morning where I was talking with the attorneys. I was like, I want this, is this. He's like, that's not feasible. I found case law that's going to tackle this, but we've got two good claims, these, and we're going to do it like this, and it's what I want though. Do you
right.
see what I'm saying? When you're the client, it's what you want. So Peter is just doing what his client wants, and in this case it would be Tina Peters, but it would be the people funding the lawyer, because
Right.
the lawyers haven't sent her a bill in a while.
Right. So why are they bringing up
So who's funding it?
right? Why are they bringing up Stephanie Lambert? Like, what's their point? To divert and to keep
Right. Okay. Okay. Hold on. I want to hear this. Guys, do you guys know why Stephanie Lambert was brought up? Because it was cutting in and out, and I was getting text relays, but they were obviously delayed. Anybody out there that heard that and why she was invoked and wasted so much time on it? Okay. Bayu, are you talking? Because if you are, I can't hear you. Yeah, I can't hear her.
Well, the
Um,
thing that I noticed, Tori, was that it was the lawyer, the guy lawyer for Tina, that brought up Stephanie Lambert's name. Like he was arguing that, that they attacked Stephanie Lambert, and I don't know if that was like one of the other amicus that was submitted to the court. That was a question that I had about it too.
yeah, who attacked Stephanie Lambert?
That was what the lawyer said for Tina.
Yeah, but who was he
That
referring
part
to?
wasn't specified. That's why I was wondering if it was one of the other amicus.
Were there other
I
amicuses?
believe so because the judge said, approving this one, not going for these two. I read that or list as I was listening, I understood it that there were at least 4 different amicus. He was referring to them by number. And my mistake, I didn't have like the amicus in front of me because I don't know. Did you release it? I don't think you did.
Yeah, I
Okay.
did. I put it on the Telegram as a
I felt like I
PDF.
read it, but I had never printed it out, so I didn't have the reference number for it. But and because we can't record the court proceeding, I can't refer back to it.
Right. Well, he accepted our amicus. He even said
Yes.
twice that he was going to use ours because he gave really good arguments for her.
So that was a question that I had for you. Being as how the judge
Yes.
referred to this amicus that was submitted by you and Grant, if a judge sees that there is something that is a blatant constitutional infraction against her, isn't he bound to release her? Like, regardless of everything else?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. But here's the thing. Now he has to assess, is she dangerous? And that's why we address that in our
But that would be
amicus.
beside the point. If somebody has been incarcerated under illegal pretense.
I agree. But it's not illegal
Well, it's illegal
if they can prove that she's
the
extremely.
way that he did it.
Oh, yeah, the way Barrett did it. Yeah. It's a eighth
So
amendment
wouldn't that
violation.
supersede the other arguments? Like
It would, unless you can prove that she's telling people to go like kill people.
yeah, no.
Or, because if I'm sitting there on a podium with a big audience and I'm like, everybody, go and do some atrocities or
But that's the other
genocide,
thing. She
right?
proved that she is not a danger because she spent how long on house arrest and she abided by every single one of the
Exactly.
court's measures. She's never shown herself to
I
be
agree.
any kind of unlawful, troublemaker.
I agree. I agree. And we also said she can't repeat the strength of her argument or repeat what they're saying. So basically, he just threw her in jail so he can violate her rights.
And he said
Period.
it with his own mouth.
And that's why I always say, like, use their words,
Well, that's all I have to say about that. I'll
you
let
know?
the next person go.
Yeah. Apollo, go ahead.
So,
Thank you, Kristen.
I was there today, and just I raised my hand because of the Stephanie Lambert piece. But that was brought up after probably a half a dozen times, because the judge was really clear. The issues that I'm here today, which he already stated, are, number one, I need to get through procedural jurisdiction things, and then get to the matter of whether or not her speech actually constitutes a danger. And that was said repeatedly. The whistleblower testimony and the issue whether or not divinity was a problem, he kept doubling down and saying, listen, that's not really the issue at hand. The only thing I really took exception with from the judge was his comparison to Tina Peters' platform being used to potentially incite violence, because he made a comparison to people hypothetically advocating that they break into the EPA to dig into something. But I also think that was, it gave a balanced approach to his statements today. The Stephanie Lambert piece was brought up, and I thought it was extremely inappropriate and completely irrelevant. And
But why did we waste so much time on her rather than Tina? Like, I don't understand. We're supposed to be focusing on her constitutional
well, and it
insults,
wasn't that much
and that's it.
time because the judge kind of smacked it down. John brought it up at the end after he had been smacked down already and said, yeah, but you're talking about stuff that's irrelevant. Like, and he at the end basically admonished her attorneys, was like, hey guys, stop filing stupid shit that's going to delay this so I can rule on the constitutional aspects. And he brought it up saying, well, there's a reason that this is important because of how Stephanie Lambert is being targeted in another case in Michigan. And the judge was like, okay, irrelevant. So it wasn't that much time, but it was like, I'm like, how tone deaf is this? After he's told you what you need to focus on this many times, now you're bringing up another case. I was like, it was schizophrenic from the last hearing that Peter argued in, and it was like, whose case are you arguing for? Like, are you defending Stephanie or are you defending Tina? Is this like an
Well,
indictment of
that's what he
Dominion
sounded
or what?
like an attorney for Stephanie, right? We're not discussing Dominion. We're talking about her rights and should she be let out of prison right now so that way the case can continue and you can fucking figure it out later. This stuff had no business in here. And not only that, I'm seeing a concerted effort online right now where everyone's calling the judge corrupt. They're saying Dominion's getting away with things, and it's like, and we're all pushing up against Todd Blanche, and it's like, why? What did the guy do? He's up to me from observing and in everything that he's working on, he's doing a fantastic job.
Well, the one thing that I'll say on the judge, first of all, I thought the judge was great, and this was even more blatant than I think the last hearing with Peter. But the judge did a great job, and in some ways, almost like did work that her attorney should have done, because he essentially, while being very impartial, like if you go back to the actual filing of the amicus, Tina's attorneys basically they said, okay, we acknowledge that exists, First Amendment, and let's move on. And then the attorney general side said, yeah, we need to, it's irrelevant, whatever. And today, the judge, after having basically zero argument whatsoever from Tina's attorneys that the amicus raised issues that should be considered, the judge said, well, despite the fact that you haven't brought it up at all and argued all this irrelevant shit that I already talked about last time being irrelevant, the issues raised in the amicus are not only novel, but important. And I mean, that's huge. And it was actually
Right,
described
but
in
then
the
think about
agreement.
it. It was Stephanie Lambert does all of these decisions, right? She's a consultant. I'm telling you this. And someone fucking tell me if I'm wrong, right? And I'm not. She fucking makes all the fucking decision. She's the one that holds the purse book connections, right? And she did not want the amicus in there. I can guarantee you because she was the same motherfucker that blocked me when I brought those arguments earlier on in the Tina Peters case. And so they deliberately didn't do it, but Peter has known me for at least like 3-4 years, right? He's a very close friend to the president. And I had expressed my intent to him, when Tina, I was like, when Tina's there, I'm gonna come in with the people and we're gonna take her home because this is terrible. And so, he was like, he did whatever his client said to do, right? And his client should be Tina. So I don't know why Tina's not the one approving or
Tori,
disapproving. But yeah,
I didn't want to interrupt you, but you were on that point, and I think it's very important that people examine and kind of explore. They have some shared lawyers and some shared, like, onto that consulting kind of networking and the funding thing. If you start to look at that, you do have to wonder, why in the world would you use, after the judge had already laid it out, explain that he had a very narrow question to answer, and anything outside of that was not within, it would not be proper for him to, weigh in or in on or question. Those weren't questions that belonged to him to, weigh in on. And it was like, oh, I have one more comment about Stephanie Lambert. It was like, are you kidding? Like, she's not even in. And I guess one could argue that originally maybe the paths crossed, whatever, because they wanted to show that Tina wasn't just like doing this without cause, or just, um, she was performing her job in investigating, you know.
right. But the thing is, Amber,
Exactly.
that wasn't the appropriate, like Apollo
Exactly.
said, it was not the appropriate
And it's
place, wasn't it,
and it's
Apollo? Like he made it clear.
concerning that they share lawyers and that you're taking that time to say, but she's a lawyer in Michigan and she's da da da. Like, it's clear Tina has precious time in those hearings, and it's just wasn't. And he already said he wasn't having it, so it just wasn't good and proper at all. But
Well,
I
and
just thought that
sorry.
part about that they share lawyers and that there's lots of things that are shared amongst them, is a part of this that needs to, I don't know, just a thought.
What were you saying? What were you saying,
Oh,
Apollo?
just on I believe that the reasoning for him bringing it up in the first place, at least, like on paper, was because they had made some slight at her in one of the filings from the AG. But again, I was like, after the last 30 minutes of the judge saying, stay on track, stay on track, stay on track, it's irrelevant. Again, it's inappropriate. It's a different case. It's a different state. It's not in any way speaking to getting Tina out or the facts of the habeas. And like, whose case are you arguing? Like, what? It just was, it was I was like speechless.
It was
I was
weird.
speechless when he went there.
Yeah, I was glad that the, judges, have to, uphold the rule of law, right? And judges, when they have in front of them arguments that are so brazen and blatant violations that are explained in a succinct fashion where they make sense and you're like, holy shit. And I kind of threw slight in a legalese way, like, hey, her previous attorneys didn't do their fucking job. But I didn't say it like that. I think it was like they didn't develop these arguments, right? That the judge sitting there on the bench can't throw my arguments out because they were right and proper. And so the fact that her legal team, didn't do it, there's only two things. One, your ego's over your client, which is like immediate disbarment. You should go hide in a hole. Or two, this is an operation to keep her in. I mean, somebody give me a third option because I don't see it.
No, I mean, I think they're at this point. I mean, whatever operation, I think there's clearly a lot of weird shit going on that I cannot excuse. But they're putting, at the very least, best case scenario, they're putting some indictment of dominion or getting rid of machines over Team's actual case. And it's kind of like you're playing a chess game. Are you going to play the board that's actually in front of you, or are you going to try and invent your own rules? And that's what it looked like today for me. It was such a strange departure from the last hearing. I didn't even know what to say, honestly.
I agree, Paul. And the thing that's the worst, I mean, I guess in exactly what you just said, but it's almost like, the state and the Secretary of State and the AG, it's like they purposefully made it impossible for her to address any of that side of things. So then now them bringing it is just further delaying, I guess, and almost, and exactly what you said. It's we're trying to use the courtroom as, Tina's filing that they purposefully carefully crafted to have nothing to do with the actual machines themselves, or the minion itself. They made it impossible for her to bring that, but then it's like the more that they try to bring it, then the more they could write, whatever about, she's, they're awful, the judge is terrible, and, but in reality it's just not appropriate.
Well, that's exactly
Look,
what they did. Sorry, I'll just say this real quick and then
no, go ahead, go ahead, go
what you
ahead.
just said is exactly spot on, and I've talked about that a lot, and a lot of people, others have too, who like really paid attention. But they were very, very good at playing this game. Where in the media, it's like, oh, this election tampering bullshit with Tina Peters, but then in the courtroom and in Judge Barrett's eyes and all this stuff, it was completely nothing to do with elections. We're here to talk about her misconduct, stealing identities, all this shit. And like early on, I can see playing kind of a shotgun approach and saying, okay, let's throw shit at the wall. At this point, the trying to go after the machines in this case with Tina, especially now in the habeas, is just walking into a trap that they've laid. And like at this point,
Exactly.
I don't see it as acceptable that you can step in that trap again, because they did that very purposely. I agree with you 100%. And I was mind blown that today they stepped on it again.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to be, the pessimist when I said it, that they're setting her up. I think they want her to die there. I think they want her dead so they can quickly create some campaign to get rid of these machines. This is the only reason that I ran to get this amicus done.
In all honesty, it makes sense because you have a woman, who has health issues, who, shouldn't be there anyway. I mean, we could argue that all day, but no one, what they have done to her, just constitutional right, like it's just insanity to me. She shouldn't have to be there one more day. And so at this point, okay, so the AG, the state, Merrick Garland, and everyone else included, crafted this to where here's like you said, the goalpost or whatever kind of game field playing field that we're on, we have to play it just to get her out at this point, and then give her back her voice, give her back her freedom to be able to explain, in her own words. Because right now it's not doing her any good, nor any of us any good, because all of that evidence that she has, she's not allowed to even talk about it. She's not even allowed to tell her own story. So it's like, let's get her out. Like that's where the focus should be, like right now.
Well, let's get her out and surrounded by people that actually have her interests at
Right.
heart. Am I right, Apollo?
Yeah, 100%. And I'll just say on the get her
I
out part,
mean,
here's the biggest thing, and you touched on it when like right after I jumped on, Tori, but the constitutional piece and the free speech, you said something to the effect of if they can claim that Tina Peters was a danger because of some platform that she no longer holds, then what does free speech mean? And that's really, while they're going after machines, the huge issue here is somebody with some perceived
yes, thank you.
platform can speak about something, whether or not it is true, but they can speak in accordance with their beliefs, whether or not there's some issue with something, and they can be treated like Tina Peters and denied bond based on their speech. This is a constitutional, like, clusterfuck that needs to be
Hey,
addressed.
Apollo, you're repeating our amicus. That's what we put in there. That's exactly why we came in there, and that's what was our interest. That's what we said. Even though, Grant, we were putting in a lot of things about the elections. I said, fuck it, just say that we agree with her, but we're not here because of that, right? We're here because if you're doing it to her, you're gonna fucking do it to me. And so who's going to decide what free speech is dangerous or not? Is it not dangerous that Maxine Waters came out and said, you know, don't let them, don't give them any peace when they said go to their houses when Kamala Harris was fucking calling off for violence? Did they not have big platforms? They're elected officials and they said it. So their free speech, but not Tina's. If I was her legal team and advising them, this is the route we would have taken. And Bay, you touched on something. You said, you know how you say about the goalposts. Yeah, what have I said about the goalposts? The goalposts are already there. The field's there. The only thing you could do is to fucking change the game. And we just changed the
Yeah.
game with the Amicus, which was this back and forth bullshit, fake ass fights between two sides, which is the state and Tina's counsel. And we came in the middle and I said, hey, judge, look, here's the problem. Like, no one's like talking about this. Can we talk about this now? And that's where we
Yeah.
went. And you know what sucks? I want everyone to hear this, and I want your opinion, Apollo. Look at the conversations regarding the Tina Peters case right now. Most of them are talking about how corrupt the judge is when the judge was actually advocating for her more than her lawyer today.
No, I agree 100%. I've seen, and I was, there's a chat that I was looking that I commented after I got out of the trial or of the hearing, and people were like, "Oh, the judge this." I'm like, "You guys, do you not understand how much of a favor the judge did to Tina? He literally, just by admitting and stating that the amicus and the constitutional issues raised, despite not even being touched on by her attorneys, were relevant and useful and novel. The fact that they were novel and relevant, because he's been hesitant to entertain anything new until today, that was a really big deal. The judge was silently doing work, in my opinion, that her attorneys should have been doing, and bringing the issue of the constitutionality of this case to the forefront instead of trying to argue and go back and forth, hitting your head against a brick wall about machines. It was a huge deal. And I'll just say one thing too. You mentioned about having people who have her interests. I just want everyone to take note that after today, those 4 things that were up there, the only thing that got admitted in Tina's defense that would help her was from outside counsel. It was not from her team. That was the only thing so far that's really looking like it's going to help her habeas case, other than Peter getting in last time and saying, okay, let's focus on the First Amendment. The only thing that's going to help her so far of the last several months, or even since this has started with this habeas track regarding her speech, was the amicus filed by you and Grant, by outside parties, and it was admitted as useful and relevant by the judge despite no argument from her attorneys. That's a big deal.
Yeah, her attorneys just acknowledged it. I was actually offended. But the fact that Peter filed it himself, because, John may have not wanted to file it because of Stephanie's influence. And Stephanie's influence is through Patrick Byrne. Patrick Byrne can go fucking pound sand. He may be smart, but I'm smarter than him. And I could see this whole operation happening.
Stephanie Lambert is definitely a poison pill. This is not the first case that she has gone and wrecked. She did it to the chick.
She's not a very good attorney
They
either.
had to fire her. Her case, Leah Hoop's case, is still standing. Her and Greg Stenstrom, right in Delaware County, PA, where I am at. They had to fire her. And I tell you what, you do not mention the name of Stephanie Lambert around Leah Hoops, because she turns blood red.
Well, Stephanie, for some reason, from early on, when I was like, hey, we should do this, she's like, oh, you're not to be trusted. I was like, why? Because Byrne said that? Or let me guess, because I work for Brennan. Bitch, I'm one of the smartest people you can have in your camp. Why would you refuse to at least look at the arguments? Because I want to help this woman. I don't like you, but you're going to get this victory. So why not? And she was like, "Ugh, they're irrelevant. Irrelevant, pound sand, bitch. How about that? You suck as an
She
attorney."
absolutely does.
And
Because she just does, she's not even looking at like the matter of the case. It's all starstruck. She wants the attention. And she was put in the Pennsylvania case, the Michigan case, was it? And then with Tina Peters' case, in each one of them, she has gone about sabotaging and smearing shit everywhere and not doing anything positive.
well, I already told the president about that in writing, like I legit did. I wrote the president a letter and I said, I'm extremely concerned that they're trying to keep Tina in prison as part of some, yeehaw plan they have. And Stephanie Lambert is extremely dangerous to her as counsel. And I'm extremely concerned about this. I provided that to the DOJ. I gave them whatever evidence I needed to give. And I sent that off because you know what I get tired of is these stupid games. Because Apollo, you talk about Tina Peters all the time. So many other people run all these funds and do all this shit. How many of them talked about the only thing that's now given her a lifeline? And I almost guarantee you, because he repeated it twice, that, oh, there were novel arguments, and the statements that he made on that was in addressing to the AG, because the AG was like, this isn't a new argument. It's like, yeah, it fucking is, bitch. So he was responding to them. But this is the only thing that's probably going to get her out, because he said it twice. I think he might let her go home.
He also said, oh, go ahead, Apollo.
So
Sorry,
I was just going to agree. I was going to say, yeah, based on the judge's actions today and building on the last hearing that Peter was there for, I think that he sees an actual clear constitutional violation regarding her speech, and because of today, likely the issues that you raised in the amicus, and that he sees an actual way that is lawful and justice oriented to get her out, and that's why he did what he did. I think he sees a way to get her out, and my feeling is that he's going to let her go home, and it's simply because of these arguments.
I agree, Apollo, because he stated several times. One of the things that I heard him say that I thought, oh, that's actually probably a good thing. He said that he was a defense attorney, like that he. So I believe that he has been in a position, before where he has had to defend, someone's civil rights. And then the other thing that I thought that he said that I agree with you completely was how he kept reiterating that, where his very narrow boundary that he could, and he's like, he kept basically saying, I want to answer this question. This is the answer I want to question. And this is the question I want to give an answer to. And that question was she being unlawfully detained, and were her civil rights being, violated? So I agree with you. I think he wants to answer that. And I just am praying in the fact that he did say, I mean, he said it was novel, and that there were points that were very important. So I feel like that's a great sign.
that was a really promising nugget. I mean, that's how he opened up the hearing. Was he talked about his history as a public defender and how concerned he was that someone could be held unjustly. That's how he opened up the whole hearing. I've been trying to rack my memory as to why the whole Lambert issue was brought up, and I could be wrong. I could be misremembering, but my to the best of my recollection, the analogy they were using, the judge I think was using, was, is the sky blue, or did the government paint the sky and tell everybody that it was blue? Whether or not that's right or wrong doesn't matter. And then but your honor, Lambert case, Michigan, section 2, whatever. If it turns out that it is true that the government painted the sky blue, then is the lying a danger? Because it wouldn't be lying. So I think that was the reason why it was brought up. But again, I'm just doing my best to remember. And
My concern with Stephanie, well, one of them is that it appears like, I think it was Kristen that it said she inserts herself in smears, but it's this, like Tori kind of alluded to, this there's this whatever where you've got one side and the other side, but they're really working together. And what I see is that she comes in, and while she might have some evidence that, I mean, trust me, I've looked at it, it's very tempting to like run with it. And I could see, I mean, yeah, when Tina does get to say her story, I can't wait to see what all that she has to say. But so it's kind of like, I think it's one of those things where she seems to have just appeared and tried to insert herself, and it's under the guise of extra evidence that supports someone's claims, and that looks good. But then when you look at what the other side is writing about her as a result of the things that, she's done, or the way that the evidence was obtained and all the things, it's all I'm trying to say is that they paint her, it's not helping Tina and just Tina's story and Tina's case.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like the stuff that Stephanie brings forward, right? I'm not gonna lie, it's really good. She does good evidence. I mean, she's a really shit attorney.
Yes, that's what I'm
I'm
saying.
sorry.
It's like
She's
it
just a
almost
shit
makes you think,
attorney.
or is it is there something, how can you have something so like you always said, the truth
No, no,
you
no,
don't
like
have to
like
stand on. It's the truth stands on its own.
right, right, right. But the thing is, she's an attorney. She should
Yes.
know that during the habeas portion, you can't
No.
introduce new evidence unless it has to do with the habeas
Right.
portion. Now, showing a Venezuelan, a foreign person that's vetted or whatever you want to say, and throwing in their affidavit and saying, see, this is why her free speech was violated. You'd be like, what the fuck, dude? Like, how is this connecting? So it's like they were throwing it in there, hoping
Yeah.
they could get something admitted when that should come, in the appeal case, right? It should not be here. Here, we're talking about her constitutional rights. And you know what strikes me on? All of these freedom fighters, like I'm watching, you know, even General Flynn, he's retweeting stupid shit. And it's like, aren't you supposed to be really smart? And if you're retweeting stupid shit that anybody with, an IQ of 100 could see as stupid shit, right? Then you're running an operation, sir.
Yeah, and that, I guess that's what I was trying to say, is it feels like she seems to be inserted to do just that, to look the part that the left wants to paint of Tina, of being crazy, and she's an election whatever conspiracy, and it's just it is very concerning because it everything that she's touched looks similar, and it doesn't help Tina's case because that's exactly what Barrett's like. She's supposed to be in jail because what she might say, and then you've got somebody on the loose like Lambert. It's concerning.
And then you have people saying, on behalf of Tina, to get her out, we need to get rid of Todd Blanche and all these people. And it's like, what is going on here? We're supposed to all be working together. I don't have to like you, but we should be working together, And this is like a prime example. The Zoom calls that I've been putting out just recently, right? They all have my watermark. We as a people and other people that have platforms should be working together. I saw like I have people that make content. I saw this chick named Just Call Me Spicy or whatever. She did a couple. Then she called out this one group that was like not giving accreditation. And it's like, okay, fair game. You should give accreditation. But the shit that they were showing, Amber, they were showing the stupid calls from the ones that are like Fed
Oh my
setups.
gosh.
They weren't even the no kings calls,
Yeah.
the one where they don't vet anyone. They're
You
not even
just get
important.
in.
And yeah, and so what they were doing is they were creating proximity of those stupid calls that have no substantiation, like they have no substance,
And that's
right?
worrisome because,
Wait, and they're attaching it to something that's more important, like
yeah,
mine, which
yes,
is an actual
yeah,
federal coup. The reason I bring this up is exactly the same way in how you said it, that they're kind of like, they say Tina's dangerous, and then they have Stephanie doing the things that they say is dangerous, and they're attaching it to Tina. I see what you're
yes,
saying. It's
yes,
like people are sharing videos of Zoom calls for No
right,
Kings protest, but those are bullshit calls. Anybody, I could send you guys the signal link and you could get on right now. They're all
right.
being monitored. They're not that important. They're
Mm,
not talking squirrely shit. And it's
mm,
nobody important in there. It's just a bunch of people that are hired. So they try to
yes.
discredit, your arguments or your work, in this case for me, but for Tina, her
Hmm.
case, right? By
Right.
associating it with shit that makes no
Yeah,
sense.
and that fits the playbook because it's like right after that will happen, then you've got Midas Touch, like here they come, and it's like they're playing all the parts of all of exactly what I was just saying, and that's no different than what you described about the Zoom calls and what Millie Weaver and gang did with
Well, yeah.
22.
Well, I'm not talking even about
I
Millie
know,
Weaver.
I know.
We already know that. And the more people lie about it, the more stupid they look. I already know that Patrick Byrne took him from her before she even asked me or
And see,
Nathaniel,
that's what's
right?
so funny is
And then
here we are, Patrick Byrne. I'm just saying.
again, hey, what am I saying? And when I saw General Flint retweeting Patrick Byrne's thing about the Venezuelan, I'm like, come on, man, you're a general, right? You're retired, albeit, but you're a general and you're smart. Like, why the fuck are you
Yeah,
promoting this when you should be promoting the people that are actually going to get her out? Because it seems like we're running an operation, which, in essence, maybe God did it like this so people can actually see it. I'm
I know.
just saying God works in crazy ways, and I have great faith in him. But I'm also able enough to claim when I have frustrations, and this is extremely frustrating. I mean, Apollo, I watched all the people that did all these Tina Peters things. Why didn't anybody mention the Amicus? I mean, are they going to mention it now that it actually saved her, that it was the main argument, or are they going to pretend it doesn't exist?
To be honest, I think they're going to pretend it doesn't exist, and if they do mention it, it'll be after the fact, and they won't mention the actual amicus or who filed it because it's you. And it's the same. It's the same bullshit with all these calls. Uh, they want to, keep the status quo, I guess, and they don't want to, pump anything unless they can keep their powder dry. Is kind of what it seems like to me. And I have to go in a few minutes. Um,
Yeah, no, and Apollo, we should coordinate to talk with Tina
Well, and let me say something.
live.
Yeah,
We need to
yeah,
do
we
it.
do. I was talking with her about that a few days ago. On that, I just want you to know. I think I sent you a message about it, but Tina actually did not have a chance to read the amicus until last week, which I didn't realize until she had said as much. And when she read it, she said, "Oh my God, this is amazing. Why didn't they focus more on this?" So it's kind of one of those things. I'm like, how did it come to pass that Tina didn't even have a chance to read the motherfucker?
Well, then wait, didn't John bring it to her so that she could read it?
Apparently,
Like he's
apparently
supposed to
no.
tell
They
her.
didn't even. They had already filed their response, all that stuff. The one that said it exists, cool, thanks. Tina did not get a chance to actually read the amicus, so no one brought it to her until last week, until middle to late last week, I believe. And I'm
Holy
not
shit.
kidding. And when she saw it, she goes, "Oh my God." And then she, called us and was like, "Wow, why didn't they focus more on it? It was amazing. Please thank them." And she's, she had said without reading it, like, well, all these thousands of Americans signed on to that. Like, we need to address this. But I mean, that to me kind of speaks volumes that it was not even brought to her until last week, because I didn't realize that until she actually called us and told us as much that she had just gotten to read it. But the one other thing I'll say, just in regards to what you just asked about them not wanting to give attribution, I think there's just a lot of people who are still willing to play favorites and want to stay. Uh, I don't know. I don't know if good graces is the word, but they don't want to appear in some certain way, or they don't want to appear as associated with you or whoever. And in doing
Well, it
so,
doesn't
well, let me
matter. It doesn't.
just let me
Yeah,
just
but
let me finish this. They are in doing so putting something above truth and the actual information. And I've even been guilty of that. So I just want to apologize to you personally because, over the last few years, there was all this nonsense with, Joe and David. And I tried going to them and saying, listen, you guys, what are you doing? And I tried approaching them with that. And I tried to stay neutral. And in doing so, in a lot of ways, I gave tacit approval to some of the things that they were doing and saying. And that was wrong of me. So I just want to say I apologize to you for that, because the truth doesn't matter. And like you said, they can like you or not, but you do good fucking work. This is just another example. So I think people just need to say, fuck all this nonsense and whoever's popular and whoever's what and whoever says X and Y and Z, the truth matters and that's it. I mean, that's the name of Tina's show.
yeah, it should be message over messenger, right? All the time. Like there's a lot of people I don't like, but I will never discount anything that they will bring to the table that can help our country and help someone who's incarcerated illegally, or help fix anything. Like it could be someone that I loathe completely, and I will still applaud them and say thank you because they did something great. And I don't need a thank you, but I need them to focus on Tina. Forget me. But if they're going to put ego or something like that over it, that speaks volumes in where we are as a society. That we have these petty things where we're allowing someone to suffer in prison because we have egos, or because they're better than you, or smarter than you, or saw something that you didn't. It could just be that, you know, and that's what hurts. But at the end of the day, the judge and our amicus, with so many thousands of Americans behind it, are the ones that are going to bring Tina home, because justice is blind. Justice doesn't care where the argument comes from. Justice doesn't care who you are. Real justice relies on truth and facts and upholding the law. So hopefully we will see that happen. Like I pray for it. And Apollo, text me so next week we can do that show with Tina.
Yeah, I will. We'll talk to her either tonight or in the morning.
Yeah, but just remember Phoebe's birthday's on the 22nd, so that's a no on that
Yeah, no
day.
worries. I'll
Just saying
once
it
I hear
now.
from her, we'll coordinate a time. I'll let you know. I'll give you a warning.
Fantastic, fantastic. And thank you for everything you do for her. I know how much you guys are in her camp, and I know how difficult it is because, it's like we don't know who's like, I think it's Patrick Byrne that's footing the bill since he forced the Venezuelan affidavit in there. This is just my opinion, right? I have no facts other than correlating events. But, you know, I just want her home to be safe, to have good health care and be able to fight this through. We do not need a golden calf.
No, I 100% agree. And I think we've seen too many of those over the last several years. And Tina doesn't need to be the next one, especially because she's already one of the greatest cases that we have for, free speech and some of these constitutional issues in the country. She doesn't need to be a a scapegoat for another issue that already has a bunch of tentacles in it.
Yeah, in this habeas case, with our amicus, you guys, if it goes to the Supreme Court, like the judge outlined or whatever, this can actually define what can be considered, dangerous free speech. And what sucks is that, well, I'm going to advocate really hard with Peter that we need to get some better attorneys that are more nonpartisan, so that we can actually get the real grounded arguments there, because this is dangerous territory where people start fucking coming to your house because of a Facebook post, or like the young Republicans where they're putting dark humor. Like, how many of us don't subscribe to like Reddits and freaking Discord channels with the most fucked up jokes that's dark humor? And it's like, so now we're penalizing people and we're creating these boxes of speech. That was the intention of that leak, by the way, just so people understand. Because once you start defining speech, we're going to have Congress tell us who we can't talk about, what we can't talk about, and they're going to make a law. You guys don't see it. I see 20 million steps ahead, and that's what's coming. So this is why this case was actually so important at the habeas stage, that we interject and actually make these arguments, because this is a good segue to actually make good case law and have the Supreme Court kind of settle that matter before it comes into the hands of Congress, which is a hot mess right now. So is anyone else speaking, or am I dead?
Hi, Tori. Hi,
Hey.
I'm Bridget. Um,
Hi,
hi.
Bridget.
So I just have to say that today was a great learning experience of what a good judge looks like, because I have to raise my hand and say, at first I was like, what an ass. Um, but after he came back and he started talking more about the differences and wanting to make sure that they were focusing on exactly what they should be focusing on, that's when it started to click with me. Okay, he's actually being fair. In the beginning, he kind of opened it up with, I don't want to hear, I don't want to hear. So it kind of, for those of us who don't listen to these things every day, it kind of sounded like he already made up his mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, he made up his mind to let her
Right.
out.
So at first it was like, oh no, he made up his mind and she's going to be stuck in there. And then at the end, it was more clear, I think, to a lot of us, that, oh no, he was actually helping her and not hurting her. So
Were you a signee on the
I was.
amicus?
I've been on both of
Oh,
them.
how excited were you to know that the judge was really excited about what we
Super
did,
excited.
and that he couldn't stop talking about and gushing over it? And for me, I mean, this is kind of like, I could picture Stephanie screaming right now, but the fact they said, yeah, thanks, it's not really. Did you guys read the response that Tina's legal team put in regards to our amicus? You guys should go read it.
I'm going to go read it. I'm going to,
No,
yeah,
you guys should go read it. You'll be like, I'm offended right
yeah,
now.
I'm going to go read it.
And so maybe this is why he came in. I don't want to hear it, because he's thinking, what the fuck? This was your response to something that literally saves your client?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was his attitude. Like, that's how I heard
Yeah,
it.
at first it didn't sound that way, and I think it's because a lot of us don't listen to these things. We're not in courtrooms all the time, so we don't know what's usually said, what's not usually said. It's hard to get a temperature of what's going right and what's going wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, no, it does. But it was because of all this hype
Yeah.
that was created on social media about the Venezuelan, and I was in, and that's why the last time on my show when I mentioned it, I was, this has nothing to do with her
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, no, it had nothing.
Like, why is it being filed? Why is it being filed? It should not be in there.
What's your take on the timeline that he gave them at the end? Like he said over a week to review everything.
Well, he has to, you know, you have to understand that this case actually creates law,
Right.
right? And so now what the state of Colorado is fighting is to say that her speech is violent speech, that it's dangerous. So he has to be very careful because not only did they, you know, right now they're in fucking hot water because people filed complaints against Justice Barrett. We used his words saying, well, I'm going to shut you up by withholding bail. And it's like, hold on a second. You said that. That's a direct eighth Constitution violation. How about that? Right. And so then they could say, well, he withheld it because she's dangerous. And it's like, well, how is she dangerous if she doesn't have the same access?
Right.
Right. And that's why we address that in the amicus, you know, from her pulpit. She doesn't have one.
Yeah. How is she dangerous when she doesn't even have the weapon that she's accused of using?
Exactly. And so, you know, and I think us kind of nodding to the judge, yo, you know, her previous attorneys, like, I think this was purposeful.
Yeah.
They tried to throw her under the bus. They're getting rid of her. I don't know what they're doing. I'm telling you, I think the plan was to have her die there so they can rally up the people of the United States to demand the machines out.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. I really
That
do
is
believe
not the
that.
way to do it, though.
Well, you know, I mean, they thought a lot of people getting sacrificed would help with causes. Some to silence and then utilize in a different way. And, you know, they'll weaponize death if they have to. I mean, we've
Yeah.
seen the Democrats do it all the time, right? When someone died, we saw the McCain circus clown funeral. Like these things happen. And so I could see it from a mile away. You know, the tee up, the lineup, the people that were, you know, flanking, it just didn't make sense. That's why I don't bother the president with anything ever, right? Ever. Like I literally sent him a note on about Stephanie Lambert and Patrick Byrne, like in detail.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to because I'm extremely concerned for her well-being. And not only that, the well-being of our country. If they toss this case the way they like dismissed our argument saying, well, they're not relevant to our First Amendment argument. That's literally what her counsel filed.
Yeah. It's disgusting.
You
It's
know,
really it's
no, it's
really eye-opening and disgusting to see how even on quote unquote the right or the good side, they're willing to just sacrifice people left, right, and center.
well, yeah, and it's more so for the clicks and
Yeah.
everything. I mean, you know, I understand that you know, some people may not, you know, appreciate what I do, don't like me, I rub them the wrong way. I really don't give a shit, right? Bottom line is we have a woman in jail. That should be our concern, nothing else. End of story.
Well, thank you for allowing me to sign on, Torty. I really, really
Oh yeah,
appreciate it.
no.
And
No,
I've
no, no,
signed on
no.
to
My
every
pleasure. Are you
single
kidding?
one that you've asked us to, including the
Thank you.
SCOTUS one that got.
Hey, we won that one
Yeah.
too. No one's gonna admit it, but we won that one
Yep.
too.
So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, who's up next?
No, just before anyone does, I just want to say I got to go, but I just want to thank you, all of you, and you and Grant for everything that you're doing, and for the stuff that you're doing, you know, behind the scenes on those calls, Tori.
Yep. You have no idea what I'm walking into tonight. So I could tell you it's going to be fun. But thank you. And thank you. You're doing a hell of a lot.
God bless.
Thank you. You're doing a hell of a lot. So thank you very much.
Well,
Okay, who's up?
just want to be useful for the country, so I hope to figure that out better one day. God bless all of you. Thanks, Tori.
God bless. Talk to you later. Bye. Who's up? Oh shit, it's 7 already? Okay. Um, okay, guys. So I'm gonna end the space unless someone wants to say anything so that I can get myself situated.
Hey, Tori, it's Jack. I just want to say
Hey,
thank you.
Jack.
thank you for everything, and Grant and Apollo and Bayou and everyone else that's been just on this and helping Tina. It's you know, I'm praying right now that we can get serious at the DOJ. I know that may be a heavy lift right now, but I've just had this feeling that she's not getting out unless that pressure comes onto the corrupt Colorado system. So I'm just hoping that happens. You know, I'm no genius here, but I just don't see another a path that's not going to be, you know, the full pressure of their side is to not get Tina out and in front of a grand jury or anything serious, you know, to give depositions and things like that, because that's the last thing they can have happen. So,
Well, I
um,
already have an idea of that when she gets out of prison. I just want to tell you that. I do have an idea of something, of some way bringing her in for some other case, but I'm not gonna speak it out loud. So I've been working
no,
on
no, no, no,
something the past
don't
couple
do that.
months. No, no, no. I've been working on something for the past couple months, but I need Tina out to do this. So, like physically, so that she can physically go because someone incarcerated can't. But um, I do believe that the Department of Justice. I mean, we have Harmeet at the top of the Civil Rights Division, right? So we have their attention. And I know a lot of you filed those complaints to the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice, which is key and important because what we need is people like Harmeet, who's an exceptional attorney, by the way. And apparently from her ex, she knits too. Like, hey. Um, but they've got the attention because right now the biggest argument here is the violation of our constitutional rights in what is deemed free speech. Because don't forget, thank God they made the argument that she was incarcerated, that she was punished and she's being withheld for her free speech right. But they never like articulated that of, hey, they withheld bail as a punitive measure for her free speech. Does that make sense? And so I'm like, why wouldn't they say that when it's a blatant constitutional violation?
Yeah, it
That
makes
that
sense. Like I didn't get a chance to listen to the trial because I was in BFE, Mississippi today. So, but I'll probably put that on either later tonight or tomorrow. But I'm glad that the judge sounded fair. You know, anything but Barrett would have been an improvement, to be honest. You know, I mean, he made those statements, and to me, when I saw that on the trial, it was just
well,
I was
Shapiro
ready to jump
knows.
through that screen.
Yeah, well, Shapiro was there and he, I think, was a little bit concerned because for him to turn up, because a lot of them turned up today, which meant that the judge was asking questions. And, you know, when we cited what the judge said, remember, I've said this publicly before. When I was at the court, I freaking told Shapiro to his face, you and that judge, ooh, right here, just wait, remember that. I'm coming for you because when I see people perverse justice for for optics or for whatever mean they want, you know, you might think, haha, I don't like that person. That's fine. I don't care. But tomorrow it's going to be you. And, you know, this is why, you know, even if we don't like people, we should be supporting their rights, right? And when I saw them weaponize justice in order to come to an outcome that favors whatever political party, that pisses me off. I don't care if you don't like the person, because if you're making law and case law that says that you can't say this or you can't say that, that's a big problem for me. Because tomorrow it's going to be me or my kids or my grandkids. Like fuck that, you know? And that is the biggest problem that we can't get out of this petty cycle because of all these influence operations on both sides, the right, the left. They're in these influence operations and people have outsourced their thinking to what other people think. Like when someone makes a decision, they look to their right or left to see if they get approval, you know, from somebody else. It's like, what do you care? Do something novel and like think for yourself. How about that? You know, or be objective. So I think, you know, our amicus was perfect because it was a good balance of just, hey, let's focus on the topic at hand. This is what happened. Boom. Hey, we're election deniers too. And, you know, and I was kind of impressed. The Colorado Sentinel, which hates me, right? Hates me, called me QAnon bullshit. Like, I don't even know why they say that. Like, I definitely need to sue for that shit, but I don't have the funds for that shit. But I would. And they called me an election denier, but they also made our case that, hey, just because, you know, you can't withhold bail because you don't like someone, that's a violation of the Eighth Amendment. Like they actually made our case for us, even though they were attacking us, they made our case for us.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's all good. I can't wait for this. You know, we need. Side note: we need a definite, like, once we have Congress back with people in it, we need a complete review of case law, top to bottom, so we can override all the bad case law with real legislation.
Well,
And
yeah,
honestly, put the court back in the box where they cannot rewrite law, where it's like a double check, where they have to kick it back to the legislature and say, hey, fix this part of the law, and then just get
do
rid of
you
judicial review.
do you know that most of the issues that we have in regards to violations of our bodily autonomy are based on a case that's over 115 fucking years old? And so my mission for the next few days, while I'm physically like present working somewhere, um, I'm thinking of that. How do we overturn a Supreme Court case from 19 fucking oh 05 that is affecting us in 2025 when technology and the means and everything is completely different now? Actually, the mask mandate case is I'm focusing on targeting that. I'm we
Tori,
yeah,
are you talking about Jacobson?
yes, I am.
Okay, Jacobson, page 15. Go read the part where it says any liability without any immunity with or any product mandate without liability is repugnant to law. I think that's key, because if we can get rid of their immunity, that covers a lot of the problems too. But
Well,
that's just
yeah.
part of that.
What justifies immunity? Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's page 15 of the majority decision on Jacobson. I could be
Yeah,
wrong,
I'm
but
gonna
it
see if we can take it there. I mean, like I said, I haven't even set up the fund yet, but we're gonna be taking this shit all the way up to the Supreme Court. Like the arguments, obviously state level, like we have fiscal claims, we have punitive damages, blah 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 blah. But we're getting it into federal and dovetailing the states. So one thing that I do want to hone into is the Jacobson part. And considering, she's a minor and now coming as an adult to assert her civil liberties is going to be key. This really has never happened, to be fair. So it's going to be interesting to see. Oh, Kimberly, you have your hand up.
Hi, Tori. Thank you. I just wondered if someone could tell me where to watch the hearing from today and where to find out.
You can't watch it.
Okay.
It was a live hearing call
Okay.
at the time of the case, so you had to either be in the court or actually have the number. I think I posted it to my Telegram when it was happening,
Okay.
a few hours before it was happening, where you weren't allowed to record it or anything. You could only listen. Um,
Okay.
So it's like a regular court
I
hearing.
gotcha.
So they don't record these things. It's all notes, but it's fantastic. That the judge opened with our arguments and closed with our arguments because they were the only ones actually relevant to her case. And the AG, when they responded and I did a show on that, I clearly said, they had no leg to stand on. And the judge actually reinforced that too by saying, okay, it is new and it is novel. So fuck you, AG, because that was his argument. He was actually very mad at Tina Peters's counsel because, what the hell, this Amicus, the only one now in her defense, right? That's actually changing the conversation because her side was coming in with fucking affidavits and shit that they wanted to put into the case filing because you can't bring new evidence late into the game unless there's an opening, right? Which I'm sure there is from her previous filings, but I digress. And they could actually dovetail it from my filings, which I think they're trying to avoid because here's an American citizen that already filed this in court. So you can take mine and throw your Venezuelan at the forefront if you want. But I think they're not doing it for whatever reason. So this is going to be very interesting to see how it goes. But the judge was actually fair. He was more concerned about the Constitution and constitutional violations and defining what free speech is, basically, because that's the basis of this whole argument. Regardless of the fact that we have if they can't justify withholding bail as because she's dangerous, the judge is going to get unseated because he clearly with his mouth said, I'm going to punish you by not giving you bail. That is a direct violation of the Eighth Amendment. So even if he was right, the fact that he said it is wrong, he would get a reprimand. But if her free speech, which we also bolstered in our amicus, which is it's not dangerous because she's not in her pulpit, like he said, anymore. You know, she's not there. She can't repeat it. It's not the same thing. What are you talking about? You know, suddenly the judge is like, so if her platform, like if she doesn't have it anymore, how could she be doing the same thing? How is she dangerous? And why is she unconstitutionally being held? Which is what we argued.
Awesome.
So you know, and it's actually very disheartening watching all these people that claim to be for, you know, free and fair elections, and for Tina Peters not even discussing the real arguments of actually getting her out, and the travesty, because that in itself indicates that most of these charges were probably bolstered and shaped to throw her in prison too. Because if they've gone to the extent to violate her constitutional rights, do you not think that all the other things are manufactured too?
Well,
That is a possibility.
finding a good attorney and finding good doctors these days is like a crapshoot, right?
Well, Peter's a good attorney. I don't know about the other ones.
Who?
I know definitely Stephanie's not a good
Yeah.
attorney. I could tell you that from my observation. It feels like there's too much sloppiness, too much in verbiage, too many things thrown to the wall, not a succinct argument or like targeting, kind of like the way you know, people were filing affidavits. What was mine? It was targeting what? Just the software, right? And showing that, hey, this is this is the problem, this is how it is, that's the core issue. Nobody wanted to look at that. Or when the 2020 elections happened, I said, fuck everything else in the ballots, focus on the fact that there were no certifications, because then when you get to the certifications, you can get to the code. No one listened to me. It's like they wanted to throw all this shit into the air so that everyone's confused. And now that I see Dinesh D'Souza pushing propaganda, it makes me feel like the 2000 Mules was propaganda itself too. And that was to usher in the real ID. And I've said that before.
Interesting. Tori, I just posted the section in the chat.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. But besides,
I
this is
I
recorded, so I'm
appreciate
going to
you way more.
download. Yeah. Besides, this is recorded, so I'm going to download it anyway. I'm having a cigarette with you guys now that I'm at my first destination. So, okay. So Amber, you want to say something before I pop
Yes,
off?
I did, and it's actually two quick things. I won't take long, but I wanted to circle back to kind of what you had mentioned about um, was this a broader plan for First Amendment? And I, it's so funny that you say that, because when you go back to the beginning of Tina Peters and how this came to be, when you look at some of those, the legislation that came through about some of the free speech, in particular with regard to anti-Semitic language, some of those
There you go.
same
Bingo.
characters pop up. But then, speaking of the characters, from the beginning of the Tina Peters situation, also, when you filed your affidavit, seemed to just quickly write affidavits that were also not true and full of actual misinformation, and file them into the filings of some of your um, cases that you had filed your affidavit, which was not misinformation and actual information, and who knows who it would be. But it's just so interesting that some of those same characters from the very beginning of the Tina Peters case either are now in the legislature voting on, legislation that absolutely affects free speech, but then also some of the same people that sabotaged Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani are
Exactly.
the same ones that
Exactly.
inserted themselves here.
Well, here's the other thing. When I was with Tina after her pretrial, right? And we had dinner. I said, you're the sacrificial lamb, so they can fucking curbtail free speech. You know this, right? You're going to jail. I can't help you now, but I will pop in and I will save your ass because no one's going to do it. because we need to get this done. She'll even attest to that. I fucking told her, you're being hung because they want to curb free speech. I told her that. And this is why, even when I wrote to the president, I said, okay, forget the Tina Peters and these idiots, right? The concern should be the rule of law and the Constitution. And we cannot let this we cannot fucking politicize this. Every side, left and right, should be on the same fucking page when it comes to this.
And you're right. And I think it's easy to do that when you've got someone like a Stephanie Lambert coming out and being like, oh, look at these emails and look at the, so you're looking at everything but the Constitution and the violations of it. You're like, oh my gosh, chasing emails and, this and that. And some of it's true. However, meanwhile, this case is moving forward and it's not in the way that we want it to, not, I mean, of course not for Tina. Has no response. I mean, I do not believe she should be there at all. And I feel like the people that set her up, it's so clear they set her up. It's just disgusting. But they should, I mean, if they needed to, volunteer yourself. If that's what you think, volunteer yourself. Do not, have someone who has nothing but goodwill and the intentions, to, do right by her nation, by her constituents, and just by her, just being a good person, like trying to do the right thing. And then same bad actors just come in and it's so sad.
Well, she was swept up into things. And I actually got lucky, Amber, and I've said this. When I was down in DC in 2020, they had sequestered me completely,
Yeah.
right? But Sydney did one move. She sequestered me within the sequestration. And I was actually extremely
Yeah.
lucky. Rather than someone take my shit and discredit it, right? Or try to siphon more information from
Right.
me, they took what was needed and what was necessary and put it on paper. And that's what sucks. It's like, because now they're all going to eat dirt in front of the whole fucking
Yeah.
world, that they were all part of these operations, that this was all an operation. And a lot of people be like, well, that was the plan. Fuck your
It
plan.
was
Because these are real people that are
right.
dying, real people that are in jail. Are we going to forget Phil Haney? Are we going to forget Bree, the journalist?
Yeah.
Are we going to forget all these people that have given their
Right.
lives in silence, as even Christine W., right? That everyone laughed at, and she had
Yes.
that weird
Yes.
laugh. Yeah. She was sacrificed.
And I know that people might think that's a stretch, but is it really? Look at all of the records that have been released lately. I mean, can you not say that MLK was a sacrifice? I mean, can you not just this is not unusual,
Well, Bolton,
Mhm.
Bolton, everyone's like, oh, he got indicted. Hey, what happened yesterday? Didn't we get that other State Department guy
Yes.
that was
Oh
getting
my
the
gosh.
documents for Bolton? He was the guy getting the
I
documents for
I was
Bolton. And no one's
I was
talking about that,
wondering,
right?
like, because I listened to the YouTube that was on the red phone. I was like, oh my gosh, State Department ran. And then he was also at, what was it? Was it not Hillsdale? So Herod, like he's been everywhere. He's totally
Right, right. What I'm saying is they're
I get
catching
it. I get
all.
it.
Yeah, and the thing is, no one's talking about it on the news because they don't know. That's the thing. What people don't realize is that these pundits that you watch, right, are idiots. They just take talking points. They have no inside
Mhm.
analysis. They can't say shit. They don't know how to put, like, yesterday we got this spy,
Yes, it was a
right?
big
And
deal.
and 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 yeah, and Miguel fucking put that
Yes.
video, right? Yeah, and I was
I
like, holy
know.
shit, great video, great
I
find,
know.
Miguel, thank you. And I was like, she
Yeah.
rocks. And I was like, holy shit, I wonder who's next. And I was making a list, like, who's going to come down the pipeline. I was looking for the generals
Right.
first,
But it would make, I mean, he was
the
in a
ones.
skiff. What in the world? He was,
Well, yeah, but people, I mean, have you
yeah.
not seen the Great
Hmm.
Gatsby or whatever? There are ways to get shit
Yeah.
out, but they knew because they were made. Like, let's talk about Mark Straw. I'm the only one that ever
Yeah.
mentioned him. He's State Department. He got fired. What about Mr. Person? This, that, the other. I'm sure Cutter threw Michael Person under the bus, and everyone's like, "Who's that?" Well, I guess you're listening to the wrong people if you don't know who these people are. That's the
Well,
biggest
what they're,
problem, is that we have a lot of
yeah.
people saying shit
Well,
that's not really
that's what's
relevant.
very interesting because when you think about that next to the fact that all they're doing, it feels like right now is talking about how much is not not happening and how it's a disappointment this and I'm all about being critical, or speaking like I wouldn't have done it that way, or I, disagree with that. But when you're literally writing a story on someone else's story and not adding anything new, but like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. He's Trump's picked all the wrong people again, and he's failing. And it's like, but maybe if you were, like you had mentioned, like paying attention in actual news instead of like recycling each other's news stories, then maybe they wouldn't have. Maybe they could see some things
Yeah.
going on or
Well,
happening or changing.
do you remember the marathon? Do you remember the China segment
Yeah.
where in there we showed the trafficking
Yes.
ring? That's the one that Cash
Yeah.
Patel
I
busted.
know. It's exciting to see.
That's the one that was busted. We showcased it, and I think we probably gave the last cinch in that, film cutout because, a lot of people have to understand that a lot of things that are put online aren't just for the people,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Yes.
And I think people have heard this
Hmm.
before. And it's unfortunate that we are still in this era of
Hmm.
pettiness, of looking up to people that are not that important. Like now everyone's coming out against war clandestine. I was like, the motherfucker
Hmm.
took all my
Hmm.
research, skewed it, talked about these biolabs all wrong,
Hmm.
right?
And that's
And he had instantly blocked me, and everyone's like, he's the best. I was like, it's the same circle. Lara
yeah,
Logan, Patrick Byrne, General
yeah.
Flynn, they're all thumping the same. And then the question is, okay, um, where are they
Hmm.
when it comes to like actual justice and discussing
Hmm.
these things? Where are they on actually discussing the facts and not creating narratives? I feel like they
Yes.
constantly throw like sideways things like Ascension and
Hmm.
JFK and
Hmm.
all these things. People should just have faith. I even say it. Don't even listen to me. Just listen to your president.
Yeah,
He tells you what you need to know when you need to
he
know it.
really does. And
He
and
really does.
you give us good nuggets too. Lots of good information to go and
Yeah.
educate ourselves.
Yeah, but sometimes I get myself in trouble because I say too much.
Uh-oh.
I'll just say that. But oh, by the way, I just want to reinforce this thing. So that just call me spicy lady that put the video out. It's not bad what she did, but it's an MO that is used a lot of times. Because she cited some patriot people that were talking about Zoom calls, but they were showing the ones, Amber, that we can all get into,
Right,
like those ICE no kings
right.
things. And it's like those aren't even
No,
important.
and those are like the ones that are just almost like for gosh.
Fed
Hmm.
setups. Remember
Hmm.
when were you in the tag team with me and
I think
Miguel in that
yeah,
one group with the
yeah.
feds?
Well, there was one. Yeah.
And we were fucking with them.
Yes, yes. Was it about bullets or a different one? But yeah,
Yeah, well, the bullets one, and then
yeah.
the other one is
Yeah. Oh
smuggling
yeah.
people
Oh
outside of
yeah.
the
That
United
one was like,
States.
oh my gosh, what's going on?
We had so much fun with that we broke that into we splintered that.
Yes.
We brought in spirituality and then we gave them tarot
Yeah.
readers and we totally destroyed their group. That was
Yeah.
so much fun. So just so you
Mhm.
guys know, I do have a lot of fun with these lefties sometimes, especially when they're on the low level, like the stuff that people are pretending is news, like the No Kings protest videos. Those are not news. Most of them, I have personas in them and I'm fucking around too. That way I can probe because I can probably get reactions because I know that people are watching my things and hopefully we can draw more information. So some of them are just clear fed setups. And it's like, I remember me and Miguel
Yeah.
walked into one chat and and then we like quickly texted each other, holy shit, this is such a setup. And it's like, let's have fun
Yeah.
now. So the FBI agents were like,
Who are these
who are these
people
bitches?
like just in here, like
They're
stirring?
destroying our operation. And it's like, your operation is stupid,
I
buddy. Like,
know.
move it
But
You
along.
should have like a
It's
side
like,
business of selling them like crystals and stuff.
oh my God, you have
yeah,
no idea. They created an esoteric channel. I kid you not, because we had totally driven the conversation to like other ways. Like it was
but it
so
was
much fun.
peaceful.
And I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was, and it was fun. But it's sometimes a way to disrupt too. Because when you see little children or high schoolers going in there, you don't want their whole lives ruined because they make one wrong decision. So sometimes I'll sit there and I'll poison that room just to be able to save a couple of children because it's not okay, you know? And all day I sit there and I'm just looking at these things and doing, and Nathaniel's doing a great job too, right?
Yeah.
Like fantastic work. And the problem is that I know things are getting done. We're getting people fired, things are being done. And those calls that I showed that are so atrocious are from
Hmm.
June. And the watermark, even though it says Tory says, normally the watermark on it is chain of
Yes.
custody, COC, and it's numbered, right? So it's not like random. So we can actually refer to it in a chain and a database that's been created with petabytes of these calls. So it's like, it feels as if the narrative of our news and our influence networks want to
Yeah.
keep us captivated in bullshit and picking a side. We hate all Muslims, or we hate all
Right.
Jews, or this, when it should be, can we focus on our country for a
Yeah.
second? Let the president deal with the other shit. Can we focus here? Why are we thumping another
And
country? How is that helping us?
unless they
Tell me how
really
that
want
helping us.
us again to kind of go back into a camp to, I guess, hurt us into somewhere, well, you're on this side, you're on that side, and that's definitely how it feels. And what I did want to say, and you never confirmed this, this is just my observation, but and the thing is like when we first started kind of listening to those and getting in those chats, what have you, I kept looking at them and I was like, oh my gosh, these something about these chats is just reminding me so much of about January 2021. Like, and just
Yep.
after, and I couldn't shake it because they were lefty, but they were saying all the same things that I can remember some of the other chats that were supposed like, and just
Yep.
after, and I couldn't shake it because they were lefty, but they were saying all the same things that I can remember some of the other chats that were supposedly election integrity that kind of went a little bit more to get themselves on
And people
lists.
forget. People. Yeah, but people also forget, Amber. And I'm going to
Yeah,
close with this
yeah,
because I have to run to my thing. Um, is that when in my chats, the Telegram, right? It was actually a Mossad agent that went under the name of Lala
yeah,
Beans that had penetrated and had tried to replicate and inserted their own agents. So, these games, I don't play
yeah.
them. I don't participate. I don't want to address their issues. The only time I'll address one of the dangerous trolls, per se, or the operators, is when it serves a purpose for me, right? And that's to kick the hornet's nest
Right.
and see a couple other faces. Other than that, I really don't
Yeah,
give a shit what anybody thinks
yeah,
of me. I know what I'm doing is correct. I'm good with God, and that's it. And all of us should
yeah,
act like that. So, to all the American people, we have given Tina Peters a lifeline. She may be home, before. Maybe it'll be a trick or treat thing. Um, I hope I have enough miles so that I can go see the woman. But let's pray. The judge seemed to be on the side of justice. And that's where all of us should be focusing on, not partisan issues. And we should be focusing more on that, on truth, facts, and nonpartisan issues, and focusing on our country rather than other. So on that note, I love you guys. God loves all of you. And He's great. God is great. These are exciting times. So have a great evening. Thank you all for joining me. God bless.